Have you ever really thought about what makes the air in a building, say a hospital or a brand new office, feel truly clean? It's not magic, and it's not just about a fresh smell. It's all about a super important technical standard that just got a massive overhaul. So today, we're going to unpack the 2025 update to ASHRAE's standard 52.2 and find out how it's basically changing the entire definition of clean air.
So who's behind all this? It starts with the vision of ASHRAE. That's the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers. Their whole mission isn't just about keeping us cool or warm. It's much bigger than that. It's about engineering healthy, safe indoor spaces for every single one of us. And that mission really hinges on what's floating around in the air we breathe every day.
And that really begs the question, right? With so much focus these days on wellness and public health, how do we actually know if the air filtration systems in our buildings are doing their job and protecting us? Well, the answer, it turns out, is in a very specific, very detailed rulebook.
And that rulebook is the absolute foundation of indoor air quality. It's a standard called ASHRAE 52.2. You can think of it as the official playbook that laboratories all over the world use to test and compare air filters. It makes sure that when a product says it cleans the air, it's not just marketing fluff, it's got the hard data to prove it.
Okay, so here's the official definition, but let's break it down. Standard 52.2 is the industry's gold standard. It lays out, step by step, exactly how to test a filter's ability to pull particles of different sizes out of the air. Honestly, it's kind of like the SATs for air filters. It's a standardized test that lets us compare apples to apples, so we know exactly what we're getting. And this standard didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's been evolving for decades. Way back in the 90s, it was all about stopping visible dust from making surfaces dirty. Then, in 1999, we got the MERV rating system, which was a huge leap forward because it started counting particles by their size. And now, this 2025 update is making another massive pivot, this time to align our filter testing directly with human health. Okay, so to really get why this 2025 update is such a game changer, we have to look at the old way of doing things, and more importantly, where it fell short. The truth is, there was a pretty major disconnect between how we were testing our filters and what public health organizations were actually concerned about. You've definitely seen MERV ratings before, probably when you're buying a filter for your home furnace. It's that number from 1 to 16, where higher is better. But here's the thing, and this is the absolute key to understanding the whole update. That rating has always been based on a lab test that simply counts the number of particles a filter stops. And that one little word, counts, is the source of the entire problem.
Which leads to the big question, right? The one that really drove this whole 2025 update. How well does just counting particles actually line up with public health? Is counting tiny particles the best way to measure a filter's real-world impact on our well-being? Turns out, there's a much better way.
This slide lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have the engineers and the filter labs who are all about particle counts. On the other, you have health agencies like the EPA and the World Health Organization, and they talk about particle mass, the total weight of pollutants in a cubic meter of air. It's like judging a rainstorm. You could try to count every single raindrop, but what really tells you the impact of the storm is measuring how many inches of water actually ended up in the bucket. For years, the engineers were counting raindrops, while the health experts were measuring the water in the bucket. They were speaking two totally different languages. And this is where the 2025 update comes in to save the day. It's designed to be a universal translator. It creates a brand new, common language that finally connects the world of HVAC engineering with the world of public health. So what's the secret sauce? How do they do it? Well, the biggest change by far is a new way to report a filter's performance. It's called PMX 5.2. And what it does is it translates those particle counts from the lab into the mass-based metrics that the health agencies have been using all along. Okay, this table right here, this is basically the Rosetta Stone for clean air. The lab test itself still counts the particles in those E1, E2, and E3 size ranges, but now it also calculates a mass-based efficiency. So that PM 2.5 2.2 number gives us a direct line of sight to the PM 2.5 metric that you see on the news during wildfire season. For the very first time, an engineer can look at a filter's lab report and see exactly how efficient it is against the very same metric that health experts are warning us about. And the implications of this are honestly huge. A building operator can now look at a filter's PM 2.552 rating and know precisely how it's going to perform against EPA air quality guidelines. It directly connects the spec sheet to that real-time air quality sensor on the wall.
The dots have finally been connected, at least for pollutants like dust and smoke. But what about the airborne things that actually make us sick? Well, you'll be glad to know the 2025 update doesn't stop there. It goes after another huge concern, one that's become impossible for any of us to ignore: airborne pathogens. And this is where things get really, really interesting. The update adds something called Informative Appendix L. Now, I know that sounds super technical, but trust me, this is a massive deal. It's a brand new, standardized, but optional protocol for testing how well an air cleaner can remove or inactivate biological aerosols. We're talking viruses, bacteria, and mold spores. And this is a true game changer. See, before this, if a company claimed their air purifier was great against germs, they'd use their own private lab data, and it was impossible to compare that to anyone else's claims. Now, Appendix L gives everyone the same playbook. It means we can finally have a true apples-to-apples comparison. It cuts through the marketing hype and gives us data we can actually trust. That means real confidence for a school choosing a system for its classrooms, or even for you when you're choosing an air purifier for your own home. All right, so let's pull back for a second and look at the big picture here. What does all of this really mean? These technical changes, they're not just for engineers scribbling in notebooks. They're part of a much larger global movement toward creating healthier and safer indoor spaces for every single one of us. And a huge part of that is getting everyone on the same page globally. Here in the US, we've always used ASHRAE 52.2 with its particle counting MERV system. But in Europe, their standard, ISO 16890, has been using a mass-based system for years. By adding this new PM reporting, ASHRAE is building a critical bridge between these two worlds. It's going to make it so